Ever catch yourself yawning during a boring meeting only to watch it spread like wildfire to everyone around you? Or maybe you're feeling that tingle right now, just hearing me talk about it. Here's the thing. It's not about tiredness or boredom like most people think. Your brain is actually executing a clever little survival trick. So today we're diving deep into why we yawn, the real science behind it, the common myths that just won't die, and some surprisingly practical ways you can use yawning to sharpen your focus. Spoiler alert, it has nothing to do with low oxygen levels. Now let's get into it. Let's start with what actually happens when you yawn. Picture that familiar, unstoppable urge building in your throat. Your mouth opens as wide as humanly possible, stretching your jaw muscles to their limit. You pull in a massive deep breath, about 50% more air than normal. Hold it for a couple seconds while your lungs fully expand, then exhale slowly with a satisfying whoosh. The whole process takes just 4 to 7 seconds, and adults do it around 9 times a day on average. Well, anywhere from 0 to 28. Often in fits of 2 or 3, and even more when you're stressed, sleepy, or shifting mental gears. This isn't some random habit either. It's hardwired from the very beginning. Ultrasound scans show fetuses yawning around 12 weeks after conception, up to 25 times per day, long before they've seen another person do it. Yawns kick into high gear right before you fall asleep or first thing when you've woken up, and they often hit during those awkward transitions in life, like when you're moving from intense focus at work to downtime or waiting in line before a flight. Think about athletes pacing in the locker room before a big game, or surgeons pausing mid-operation. Even pilots report yawn chains right before takeoff. But what makes this so universal? Nearly every species, from humans and chimpanzees to dogs, birds, and even fish, show some version of yawning behavior. Yet despite how common it is, scientists have only recently started piecing together the real reason why. The puzzle, of course, gets deeper when you realize we still don't have one single definitive answer. Rather, it's a combination of factors working together, but that is still better than nothing. The leading explanation from modern neuroscience is that yawning functions as your brain's personal cooling system. And how's that for a fun fact? Sure wasn't on my bingo card. Anyway, it works pretty much like the radiator fan kicking in on your car engine when it starts to heat up. But here's why that actually makes perfect sense. Your skull acts like an insulated fortress that traps heat inside. When you're deep in thought, solving complex problems, or maintaining sustained focus, your neurons start firing at maximum speed. That electrical activity generates serious heat. Think of it like your laptop processor warming up during a video rendering. Without cooling, those neurons get sluggish and inefficient, like trying to run a marathon in a sauna. So enter the yawn. When it happens, your deep inhalation flushes hot blood out of your skull through ramped up circulation, while simultaneously sucking in cooler air from outside of your body. Studies have measured this effect directly. A single yawn can drop your brain temperature by up to 1 degree Celsius, bringing neurons back to their sort of optimal firing range. I'm happy to say that the evidence actually stacks up rather nicely. Researchers like Gordon Gallup at State University of New York, Albany, ran controlled experiments in 2014 which showed that people yawn most frequently in comfortable room temperatures, so something around 21 degrees Celsius or 70 degrees Fahrenheit. That's to say, not too hot like a sauna, not freezing cold like the Arctic. So when the gap between the outside air and skull temperature hits this sweet spot, yawns will spike. Block your nostrils to reduce cool air intake, yawns will drop dramatically. Apply a cold pack to your forehead, and contagious yawning plummets to just 9% from 41% at room temperature. You can see this pattern in everyday life. Try thinking of a time you yawned in a steamy hot shower, or with a freezing AC vent blowing right at you. Now compare that to a long desk session at normal office temperatures. Even competitive gamers report chain yawns during high-pressure tournament moments when their brains are overheating from hours of focus. So next time you're feeling one come on, say mid-podcast or during a meeting, don't fight it. Your brain is just calling for its built-in air conditioner. Now this brings us to the really bizarre part that fascinates most researchers. Yawns don't just happen solo, they're incredibly contagious. Watch someone else yawn and there's a 90% chance you'll catch it within just a few minutes. Videos of people yawning trigger it instantly, even if you're alone. Phone a friend mid-yawn, you'll join right in without even realizing. Kids under 4 years, they seem to be completely immune to this, however their social brain wiring hasn't fully developed yet. This contagion effect traces back to mirror neurons. These are remarkable brain cells first discovered in monkey experiments during the 1990s. These neurons fire in two situations: when you perform an action yourself and when you simply observe someone else doing it. They create invisible bridges of empathy between people. When you see a yawn, your mirror neurons light up, interpreting it as a social signal, saying, "Hey, I'm syncing up with the group." There are fMRI brains confirming this, where specific clusters activate reliably during contagious yawning. Evolution likely favoured this trait rather hard. Imagine early groups of humans. One person yawns to signal it's time to rest after hunting, or perhaps to prepare the group for other action. The contagion spreads rapidly, coordinating the whole group without a word being spoken, and yet we've communicated, "Okay everyone, rest mode activated," or "hunt time approaching." Fast forward to today, and it still boosts empathy. Studies show people with conditions like schizophrenia or lower natural empathy yawn contagiously about 40% less often. Meanwhile, we have dog owners who sync up their yawns with their pets more than they would just with general strangers, which goes to further strengthen that emotional bond. You can try this experiment for yourself right now. Vividly picture a massive lion opening its jaws in an enormous slow motion yawn. Teeth gleaming, throat stretched impossibly wide. Feel that familiar tingle starting to build in the back of your throat? That there is 50,000 years of evolutionary programming firing away in real time. But before we move on, let's quickly just debunk a few myths that have hung around for generations. Yawning isn't strictly about boredom. Pilots and surgeons use it deliberately to heighten awareness during critical moments, and it's definitely not low oxygen either. Submarine crews yawn constantly, even with pure filtered air pumping through their vessels. And forget the old idea that yawns just oxygenate your brain somehow. Simple deep breathing exercises accomplish that far more efficiently without the big jaw stretch. And that's been proven with experiments where oxygen and carbon dioxide levels didn't actually affect yawn rates. Pulling these threads together reveals yawn's full evolutionary brilliance. Dogs yawn softly to calm anxious owners, sending an appeasement signal. Chimps unleash aggressive yawns at rivals to intimidate and establish dominance. In animal packs of all kinds, yawns act like silent roll calls, synchronizing group alertness levels. For you personally, every yawn becomes a compact brain hack, regulating temperature, forging quick social bonds, all packed into those efficient 6 seconds. So how can you turn this science into practical tools for your own life? Start simple. If you feel foggy-headed before an important meeting or long drive, force a deliberate yawn, about, say, 5 minutes ahead of time. That instant temperature drop and circulation boost will sharpen your focus immediately. Feeling sleepy at 3 p.m? Open a window to let in cooler air, and that will help trigger natural yawns on demand. To break contagion chains when you don't want them, like avoiding the meeting domino effect, cover your mouth completely or perhaps try chewing gum as a quick distraction. It works about 80% of the time by interrupting the mirror neuron trigger. On the other hand, for a mutual reset with coworkers or family, yawn openly together during afternoon slumps. This creates an empathy refresh that no coffee can match. Make triple yawns your pre-exam or pre-presentation ritual to prime those neurons for peak performance. Most powerfully, train yourself to treat every yawn as a built-in focus cue. The moment one hits, pause whatever you're doing, take a quick stretch, and reassess your tasks. It's your brain's elegant way of saying time for a reset, far smarter than an app notification. So that's all to say that yawns aren't some embarrassing flaw or, say, a sign of weakness. They represent your brain's quiet genius in action, multitasking to cool itself under pressure, build instant social connections, and conserve energy for what really counts. So now over to you. What's the weirdest yawn chain reaction you've ever experienced? An airport epidemic or a classroom takeover? Share it in the comments below. Did watching this video spark a yawn for you? Making it absolutely did for me. Hit like if you picked up on something new, subscribe for more, and I'll see you in the next one.